Good day. My name is Matt. Welcome to my channel. This is Doom Comes to Willowford, Episode 8. I'm going to diverge a little from some of what you've seen and experienced in previous videos. I watch lots of other solo YouTubers. One of the things that I felt was missing from my show is that I really have not delved into the characters very much. And if you're actually a fan of role-playing, really any role-playing of any system, you will have experienced character development, and I don't mean mechanical development, I mean personalities, beliefs, backgrounds, quirks, inside jokes, that kind of thing among your players at the table as they go through exploring and getting to know their characters. I was watching a video this last weekend from a channel called Solo Dungeon Crawler. It really hit me then that I really have not delved into the backgrounds or motivations of any of my characters. At least probably not from watching the videos. I understand some of the backgrounds and motivations and whatnot, but I don't think I've really expressed that. So I decided today to sit down and actually write out a little bit of this next episode. If you were playing at a table with multiple sessions with your group, I would guess you would call this a development session or something to that effect. But we will see where this goes. The band returns to Burrowmoor to rest and plot their next move. Whatever Willona saw in that next room had terrified her enough that she did not speak on the short voyage back to the village. Sam and Hal prodded her on the float back, but she refused to speak and was in deep thought. Joseph, ever the bard, only discussed needing a drink. "Too many walking dead upright for my liking," he said. Dagda could not agree enough. Her dwarven belly yearned for a little bit of ale. Joseph did not want to appear fearful or afraid, but what he had seen had shaken him to his core, and he needed something to distract him. A crowd, some food, and a drink would do that. Upon landing at the dock, they said their goodbyes and went their separate ways. Sam headed to Brunhilde's hovel to check on Daisy. His head hung low. Josa and Dagda head to the keg and kabash, stomachs growling and throats dry. Somewhat reluctantly, Hal opts to join them. She isn't one much for large, loud crowds, but she definitely needs something to clear her mind. Meanwhile, Willona heads to the cozy burrow the band had acquired shortly after their first venture into the swamp. She wasn't there, but this is slowly becoming home for her. Upon entering, Willona drops into a carved wooden chair, human-sized. She looked around, if you could call it a home, she thought. It's really a hollow hill with low ceilings that caused her to have to duck as she moved around. The chair was a gift from the merchant Sturbo. Willona was certain the stout and unusually tall halfling had a crush on her. He had presented the gift shortly after they had returned with Daisy from the ruins, proclaiming her the, quote, slayer of the dead, and unveiling the chair as his personal thank you. His smile was infectious and a little creepy, if she was honest. Still, the gesture was nice, even if the title was unwarranted. She had failed numerous times to protect her fellow bandmates from the undead. She broke the silence. "So much for my holy crusade," she uttered softly and let out a long sigh. Joseph had nearly met his end a handful of times. Luckily, that had not been at the hand of one of those disgusting ghouls that felled Daisy. If anyone fell to a ghoul, her mentor had told her they would rise as a ghoul. She had seen that with Daisy. Poor Sam, she thought, to see his own sister rise as an undead must truly be horrible. She had promised him that they could revive his sister, but could they? Her mind wandered. In her studies, she had read it was possible. The exact method escaped her memory, But perhaps Father Bjork had not told her of this process. She was sure he had spoken of it in passing during her teachings. In fact, she was actually here in Burrowmoor because of him. Father Bjork had mentioned the undead that haunted the moors west of the village, and suggested that might be a good place for her to start her crusade. A smile appeared as she remembered him. He was a kind teacher, almost a father figure in her early and naive past. He took her in after her own family was murdered by zombies, hence her deep hatred of the undead. He had schooled her in the ways of the Church of the Silver Light. A quick thought occurred to her, and she perked up. Father Bjork was actually due for a visit to Willowford soon. Perhaps she would meet him there and learn more of how to fulfill her promise to Sam. At the Keg and Kabash, Hal and Dagda tossed back a cider. They preferred the sweet flavors than the bitterness of a hop-based brew. Joseph stood on a small wooden stage, strumming his travel lute as he recited a dramatic retelling of the slaying of Jim Rottentoes and Lucy Largebottom, the vile trolls that haunted the swamps and stole the children of Burrowmoor. He had turned the trolls into clowns. The story contained numerous funny moments, such as when the band challenged Lucy to a cooking contest, and the band's wizard, a beautiful maid named Hallie, shoved a flaming stick up the troll Jim's behind. The crowd roared with laughter, and it was just what Hal and Dagda needed to get the day's events out of their minds. Joseph would not admit this, but the crowd's laughter and applause when he finished had lifted his spirits and cleansed his mind of the horrors he had witnessed in the ruins beneath St. Albinus. When he returned to the table, he was pleasantly surprised to find numerous tall brews waiting for him, gifts from his many fans in Burrowmoor. Moments later, plates of fresh-baked fish and potatoes arrived to fill their stomachs. The cool air, pleasant aromas, and soft laughter filled the night as they dined in silence, pondering their next move. Brunilda had invited him in when he knocked on the door. Daisy's canoe had been placed in a spare room. Vestiges of peaceful nature spirits and symbols of St. Siona had been placed around the canoe. He offered the shield they had recovered under St. Albinus, Brunilda smiling as he presented it to her. The rest of the band would not recognize this, but the shield had a white oak painted across the front, the silhouette of a babe held in its branches. This was the symbol of St. Siona, protector of Burrowmoor. How or why, in fact whose shield this was exactly, he did not know, only that it was quite a lucky twist of fate to find it. Brunilda thought for a moment, and then a smile appeared on her wrinkled face. She motioned for Sam to help her, and then placed the shield atop the canoe. The curve of the shield met the natural lines along the top of the canoe perfectly, leaving a 6-inch gap over Daisy's face, which rested peacefully in the holy water. Retrieving a strand of bower vine, and with Sam's help, she wrapped it around the canoe to hold the shield in place. "She's resting peacefully, Sam," the older woman said, resting a hand on his shoulder. "She is safe, and the transformation has been halted. Your friend was wise to suggest this. She is quite skilled in the faith." He nodded slightly, eyes swelling with tears, and then wipes a hand beneath him, not wanting to appear weak. He is one of the few halflings of Burrowmoor who entered into this adventuring and dangerous life. The villagers had always been dismissive of him and his dreams growing up. Just another silly halfling with dreams of wealth and grandeur, they had said. They were wrong. It was not fame or fortune he was after. It was the excitement and the camaraderie that came with friends risking life and limb. This closeness he had found nowhere else. That is what he wanted. He cleared his throat with a cough and straightened his back, puffed out his chest. To belong, to be part of something that mattered. His eyes turned back to Daisy, and suddenly all that faltered, crumbling away. His chest sank, his head dipped lower, his arrogance and attempt at bravery Foolishness, is what his parents had said, had tempted Daisy to venture into the ruins. This was the result. He alone had caused this. Brunilda watched this drama play out, this inner battle Sam fought in his own mind. She stepped forward and put an arm around his shoulders. You and your friends will save her, Sam. I can feel it. Saint Siona has shown me you will find the cure and bring Daisy back. She turned and gave him a hug. He leaned in. A few whimpered cries escaped, a few sobs. Then he stiffened and stepped back, wiping away tears. Now, tell your friends. Something stirs to the north. I have felt it. His jaw dropped as the old woman spoke. I know not what this is, nor why, but I feel it is connected to what has transpired here. You are connected. Daisy is connected to this. You must discover what stirs in the north and find a way to bring her back. Back at home, Willona dropped to her knees, cupped her hands, and bowed her head. She uttered a quick prayer to the silver light. She thanked the spirit for safe passage for her and her friends, for helping them escape the ruins, then for safe travels for Father Burrick to Willowford. She prayed for guidance, to know the correct path to walk, to find the way to bring Daisy back. Please, she implored, silver light, show me. She abruptly stopped mid-thought. Absent-mindedly, she repeated the word, silver. Silver, wait a minute. She jumped up and went to the chest in the corner, digging through its contents. Just then the door opened, and in stepped a jovial and slightly drunk Joseph and Dagda, singing some raunchy dwarven drinking song. Hal followed them, an exasperated look on her face. She stopped when she saw Willona digging through the chest. What are you doing? She asked. Silver! Willona returned and tossed Joseph's old iron helmet out of the chest. It clanged across the floor. She did not acknowledge the three who just walked in. How could I have missed this? I know those trolls had a pouch of silver in their hoard. Joseph stopped singing and watched his helmet bounce across the floor. Hey, that's mine. Silver. Dagda turned her head and asked. Then she added, I like silver. Are we looking for silver next? I prefer gold, though. It matches my hair. Joseph, a surprised look on her face, turned and chuckled. Dagda tossed her long blonde braid back with a flick of her head. This drew a hearty laugh from Joseph. What do we need silver for? Hal questioned. Silver, Willona stated. That creature in the tomb. It's repelled by silver. She did not turn to look as she spoke, instead focusing on the contents of the chest. She dug for a few more moments as the three passed questioning looks between themselves. They stopped when she said, more importantly, silver can help Daisy. Aha! She exclaimed and held up a small leather pouch, the silver coin inside jingling. Willona turned to her companions. An infectious smile lit up her face. Pack your bags, my friends. We are going to Willowford, and we are going to save Daisy. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Come back next time.